Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. We have not done one of our videos for ages where we look at some of the recent posts, the rug posts that people have put up, rug and punch needle, on the various Facebook social media sites. I'd like to do these once a week. It's just been busy times, but there have been so many beautiful rugs coming up lately. And as usual, let me know if you want me to feature your rug, your design, your business as part of this. Just send me a message or let me know, tag me in something. But for now, we have a little bit of time. Let's look at some of the rugs that have been popular across the various social media sites in the last couple of weeks.
So I think we are sharing the screen right now. This first one was put up by Suzanne Stagner-Cantrell in the Contemporary Rug Hooking group. This is such a great group. I'm sure you all know it. They have tons of members, lots of fun, lots of activity, lots happening. Now, this post came up earlier, and I was just waiting for permission to be able to use it because I loved it so much. This is so different. She writes in this post, Susan writes, thought I would use extra linen, so she had a little bit of a scrap left over, for a study in light. Old glass that decorates a shelf. Fun. Use up some worms and has a purpose. I will put it on the shelf with the glass. So what a great idea this is. This is a still life basically that Susan made herself, that she composed this vignette based on some of her glass pieces that are super, super lovely. Little cruettes, some fancy bottles. It's super, super lovely. And I just love, first of all, the marble cake background. Very, very nice. But I love the idea the most. I love this idea that when it's so resourceful, when you have a little scrap of fabric left and you don't have an intention for it, why not pull down some stuff from your shelf and make a little still life and start hooking it? It gives you the chance and the opportunity to practice with different colors, maybe to play with some colors that you wouldn't normally play with. Look at the green bottle, the third in from the left. That almost looks like the Empire State Building. It is so pretty the way that it has been realized. That minty green color is similar to the minty green, just a hint of it in the real bottle, but in the rug itself it really pops. I love the directional hooking in the different bottles. I love the shadow reflections under them of the light. I love everything about this. I think this is such a great idea. If you have a little bit of extra material, some extra worms, why not challenge yourself this way and do something different like this? This is so different. Susan, I absolutely love this. Thanks for letting me use this. I think this is a great example of a busy mind and busy hands, and the outcome was really something so unique. To be able to display this with these glass bottles is going to be such a gorgeous vignette in your house. Congratulations on a really cool thing. So let's look at our next rug. I keep my thing open so we can look at stuff, so I'm sorry about that pop-ups, but I can't really help it. Otherwise, I'll be at like the snap face with the broken eyeball icon that says like something's wrong. So this next one was put up also in the Contemporary Rug Hooking group. Jessica Schick posted this amazing tribute to the state of Wisconsin. So people love this rug, and I think there's a lot of reasons why people love this rug. It is so different. The idea of doing something with the silhouette of your rug, using the negative space as your frame, then sort of superimposing into the shape of the state, the positive space, a view, like almost a photographic picture view of something that is synonymous with that state, natural beauty. So, and Laverne and Shirley, right? But also natural beauty. And in the border, not just to leave a blank border, but to do this kind of a border where you've got a little bit of speckled dots. This could be, and I wish that I would have asked you, Jessica, if this was like a color changing, variegated type yarn or something, or if you actually just hooked in you know, some little flecks in the background, because it has a polka dot quality in the background, almost like oatmeal, which I love because it's not just white. It adds so much more kick to see that kind of movement in the background, more down the bottom than there is up top, it looks. I love the way that you have broken the border on this. This is so smart. When you're doing something like this, a composition like this, you have obviously considered the shape of the state and realized that because of the shape, it kind of goes down like a dog leg, like a knee, that you're going to have a negative space on both sides of the calf. and right above the kneecap. So having adjusted that empty space by filling it in with beautiful, really well highlighted cattails, and in the top a tree that it looks like a birch that is extending. Might not be a birch, might be an aspen out there, right? I think there's aspens out west. It could be that the tree is extending into the border and giving you that extra life and carrying your eye out to all the corners. On the left-hand side, there's another tree that's breaking the northwest corner, sticking up just a little bit. And it is really a super composition. Look at that sort of cloud line right above the lit up mountains and trees in the background. If you can see, it goes from like bright yellow from the sun hitting the tree line, to the light blue, which is like a cloud or just a beautiful blue skies day, to the deeper blue on top. This just couldn't be any better than it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's a little tiny pop. I'm afraid to touch my screen with the new computer because it's a touch screen. I'm afraid like bells and whistles and alarms are going to go off and the police are going to pull up, and Chevy Chase style Christmas Vacation, people are going to break through the windows and everything's going to go wrong. So I'm not going to touch the screen, but there is a little fleck of orange in the sort of middle right side, behind between the trees like the birch and the aspen, a little fleck, and that also draws my eye and brings a little bit of mystery and question about whether that's a person or whether that's a really bright tree. I just love this. I love this. I would love to see, for every gorgeous state in this country, I would love to see the silhouette done this way, with something beautiful about the state as the main character right in the middle. This is absolutely beautiful, Jessica. You killed it. Great, great, great rug. Now, this is our third for today. I'm using my old-time cursor thing at the bottom, my mouse thing. This is Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. This really is like in my top 3 favorite groups on Facebook. Such a friendly group, such a nice group. Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. This was posted by Lucinda Canfield Carroll. And take a look at this snowman. The reason I'm in love with this is because I love the holidays, and they're a-comin', and I've already got Christmas music playing at the first week of October. I love this. I love this. I love everything about it. I'm gonna have to order this too, because I love sort of borrowing. I love hooking other people's images because I feel like I'm borrowing their vision, and this vision to me of this happy snowman with birch or aspen trees behind and a bare Christmas tree, and he's holding a little tree, and the sort of black watch scarf, everything about it reminds me of the holidays, and it is so well done. I couldn't imagine improving on this design. You never get to see designs like this of, for example, a snowman that are not corny. This is so not corny. This is the coolest, most graphic looking snowman I've seen so far. I loved it, and I was super drawn to it. It's a lot to do with what Lucinda did with her hooking. The colors are right. It has a somber winter quality, but it is not bleak. You used a different white for the snow than you did for the trees. That adds a lot. It's framed beautifully. That has to do with the composition, but it's just the colors and everything are right for winter. It doesn't slap your face with Christmas and holiday colors. It gives you a moment in time in the winter, in the woods. Reminds me of that animated film or the book, The Snowman, that comes to life. So, so beautiful. She joked in this post and said she'd only been working on it for 2 years, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You have to pick things up and put things down when you feel like it. If you don't, it becomes a burden and a labor and a project. You've got to pick up and put down, whether it's your rug hooking project or a book on the bedside table. You should only do it when you're feeling it, because otherwise it is project time, and that is not the right feeling when you're working on something creative. 2 years in the making, and you came up with this gorgeous, gorgeous composition. I absolutely love this. So she said she got this pattern from Wackadoo Yarn. Wackadoo Yarn, I forget where it is. Let's see if we can find out. Scared to touch. This is their website. So they're selling everything. They're selling, oh, look at these names. Fried green tomatoes, which are that color because I've been to that fried green tomatoes place in Georgia. Took a road trip to check it out, and that's exactly the color they are. Salty dog, stormy seas, dried ketchup. Great, great whimsical names. Deflated tire, Wow. And then here are some of the patterns. Look at this one. This is a, I've got to click on it. I'm sorry. This is a made up rug, Salem. Oh boy, is that in my budget? Look at that. Wow. So nice to buy other people's work, isn't it? That is something else. But let's scroll down because I think the pattern that we were just looking at, they've got patterns, they've got wool. You see this beautiful wool. Um, this is so creative. I love this site. I've got to spend a bit more time on it. Very, 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 the style for me is very detailed, but it's graphic. That's my favorite style with rug hooking. I'm not a big realism person in anything. I'm drawn to rug hooking because it's not like photography, and this really hits my sweet spot because it's colorful, it's graphic. There is a set palette, and I like that too because everything is very recognizable. You could hang all of these things we're looking at on one wall and they would all match. And here is Pale Frosty. So it's reversed here, which might mean it was punch needled here. It looks like it was punch needled here. So this is reversed, but different colors, very sort of happy, sweet, Frosty, the snowman, classic character expression on his face. This is a great, great, great website. Let me see if I can figure out where they are. I'm feeling like they're in New Zealand. Okay. Is that where they actually are in terms of shipping? Well, I don't want to take up too much time on it. It might be, but you know what? Even if it is, it doesn't matter, right? If you see something you're in love with, maybe Oxford folks, wonderful, wonderful. No, so not, no, I don't think it is New Zealand. I think it's going to be domestic. It's just they're getting their yarn from New Zealand. That's what it seems like. In any case, check them out because this is an amazing, amazing website, Wackadoo Yarns. So on to the next. Let me flip my page here for cues. Leah Maines. I've been going to your page a lot, all stocky like, because I love what you're doing here. So Leah Maines posted this in the Contemporary Rug Hooking group, and she writes, just finished this rug today. It's called Next Year in Jerusalem. Original design and hand hooked by Leah Huete, Domain, USA, wool, silk, velvet, and Ethiopian opals on linen burlap. It just made me hungry because I love Ethiopian food. But a number 2, so I guess this is cut. Oh no, maybe this is composition number 2 in the Pray for Peace of Jerusalem series. This meditation mat was handmade during the pandemic, September 2020. This is so gorgeous. You can imagine that this got a lot of attention. I'm going to click on this because I want to show you a little bit closer up how spectacular this piece is. This is a gorgeous cityscape. It is so peaceful. It has that sort of Eastern color scheme going. Obviously, the subject matter that lends itself to that. I love the flowers in the foreground. I love these kinds of compositions that are tiered or stepped. So you've got like nature, water, and then you have a series of buildings, and it almost has a jigsaw puzzle quality, the way that the colors are fitting on top of each other. It is gorgeous. Let's look at some more close-ups of this. So this is her tag. If everybody made a tag like this, it would be amazing. This is the text that I just read, but this is obviously embroidered. Absolutely beautiful. And I did go on to, I wanted to see what some of the other rugs were she was working on. This is a very similar composition, but it's not the same rug. Let me come back here and show you a comparison. It's almost like a night and day, right? So that in itself, I love it when things are in a series. Leah, this is so beautiful. So she's, obviously there's a lot happening in Jerusalem and there's a lot happening in the world. And when you put those things together, those at least 2 things together, you've got a lot of emotion and stress and worry. And this is so nice to do something like this, a project like this that is calming, that is thoughtful, that puts your head in a good place, that puts your hands on the same plane as your head, and to be able to work at something that makes you feel better, that is also a piece of beauty for all of time, and to mark it so well with a tab so that everybody will always know when we are all gone that what this rug was for, why it was inspired, and what it's about. Absolutely gorgeous work. Check out Leah Maines. She is right here, the name. She's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Proper artist. So let's check this out. Again, sorry about these notifications. Contemporary Rug Hooking Group. This was posted by Margaret Holiday Pittman. I love your name. This is so pretty. This got a lot of attention too because it has that, what is it called? That story with the animals, Bremen musicians, right? The animals standing on top of each other playing music and peeking in the window has that quality to it. So she writes, I recently finished hooking this rug wall hanging for Christmas. I wish I knew the designer in order to give credit, but there's no signature and I have no paper pattern. She's had it for 10 years. I'm really not sure where this would fit in contemporary or primitive rugs, but the colors are mostly contemporary. The lion may have button eyes, so she's still deciding on that, I guess. She got lots and lots of comments, as you can imagine. So, number one, if anybody recognizes this pattern, please let us know. This is, just look at this thing. First of all, Margaret, the way that you've hooked the background got a lot of attention, and I'm going to come to that in a minute. Um, the way this has such an evening look, it has a bit of a holiday look for me too because it's in the shape of a Christmas tree. At least the animals are. I get one moment of like turtle doves, you know, pears and pear trees and all that, but it's with roses. And I don't think it's intended that way. It's just the way my eye's reading it. It's very primitive in composition because they are standing on a basket. As soon as you've got a basket with vines and flowers growing out of it, for a rug hooker, you're immediately thinking about primitive composition. The background in this is over the top. The composition is over the top. Look at the way this Christmas tree shaped configuration of stacked animals, right? Tiers and steps again, always works in composition. Look how it's sort of framed or flocked at the top with a constellation of stars. How gorgeous is that? Look at the way that Margaret has done multicolored shading, but not super realistic, just like a hint of color transition in the roses. That's my favorite. The pattern on the basket underneath, beautiful. Everything about this I think is beautiful. Those do look like button eyes on that lion. I would love to know who the designer is on this too, because I'd love to see what else they've done. This is a work of brilliance and beauty and happiness. It's a very happy composition. So there were lots of comments, and Margaret said in the midst of the thread, I wanted to use a few pieces of wool dyed by Pat Conrad Sims, S-I-M-S. The two blue spots on the top half I knew weren't going to be enough, so I stretched and blended the wool I dyed for the background and the motifs. I believe the wool in the lion was one that was dyed by Capri Boyle Jones. The initials LLS are written on the paper pattern, so this is a clue. Does anybody recognize them? So LLS sounds like something studio. Do you recognize them? Can you help us identify this rug in terms of who the designer is? The reason I read that comment that she made in the thread was because it's really important as a rug hooker. When you're doing something, you might not have bought the right amount of wool. The general rule is you need 4 times more than the space you're filling, but when the space you're filling is interrupted by stars and animals, it's hard to know exactly without graphing it out, which is what I do with kits. That's not something everybody needs to do in their lives, is be graphing things on the computer to get exact percentages. But when you're looking at something, it is very hard to eyeball the amounts that you need. 4 times what you think you need in the background, 4 times the surface that needs to be filled, the space. So inevitably it will happen that sometimes you don't have enough and you run out of your color. And it's really important, like Margaret did here, to be able to, without freaking out and flipping out and panicking, it's really important to be able to say, you know what, I can see I'm running out. I'm going to space this out here. I'm going to look for something similar in my stash. If there's nothing else in my stash, I'll look online. I'll email somebody, ask if they have a sort of blue, green, teal, navy, storm color, whatever. But just don't panic. Just look through your stuff, see what might work, and make good decisions about blending the color out so that you have enough to fill it. And you will find 100% that no matter how the pattern looks that you're working on, when you blend and fill in some of your own colors, I promise you it will look even better. There is something magical about blending and making do that brings you right back to the core and the purity of this art form. Putting the art form in a crucible and saying, I'm out of supplies. What am I going to do? Bend a nail and start hooking? Maybe. Look through my stash, cut up an old shirt with moth holes? Maybe. All of these things are possibilities because this craft is about making do. It's wonderful to see an example of, somebody who's willing to say, I ran out of my supplies and I did this instead. And to me, this blue background could not be any better. It just could not be any better. So nothing bad came of it. Something good came of it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Margaret. It's just a gorgeous piece. LLC, if anybody knows who that is. So another from Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. This was posted by Sue Jacoby. This is Piedmont, so that's the title. Designed after an antique rug by Rhonda Shook Manley of Black Sheep Wool Designs. Rhonda, I love you. I love your stuff. I'm going to show you in 2 seconds. But this particular rug, which I'm completely in love with, is 34.5 by 66 and has about 30 shades of pink, rose, and coral. And she says, no one draws a pattern the way Rhonda does. This is so stunning. Speaking of primitive compositions with flowers and baskets and vines, come on. Would you ever think that you could get something this beautiful with mostly pink and black? Would you ever think that? I would be so gun shy about setting myself up with my work bag and my strips all cut in all pinks, all blacks, and a little bit of brown. And yet, look at this. It sings. It's gorgeous. It works so, so, so well. I want to look at the design, but I just want to also be really, really clear about this being an example of a primitive at its highest level. You get primitives, but you have to be Sue to make it look like this, right? This is something special. There is a lot of shading going on, but again, it's graphic style shading. It's not realistic shading. You're seeing red going to gray, going to like maroon. That is what gives a primitive rug an old antique look. That is something done masterly. The outlining of the whites against the black, the way that the basket's been handled, and even the color changes within the basket from white to tan, absolutely beautiful. It just came out beautiful. It's so filigree and lacy and gorgeous. And because we know that Rhonda designed this for Black Sheep, I want to bring you to blacksheepwooldesigns.com. This is a gorgeous site, another gorgeous site. Great places to shop. Very, very, very primitive, in the best vein, in the best way. So let's do view all. These are not corny primitives. These are glorious, old time. Any of these could be antique rugs. So you're seeing lots of patterns here. It's a beautiful page. You can go to home, you can go to collections, you can shop. She's got everything divided by, let's look at seasonal, by genre. So, and obviously more coming. She's got a lot of coming soon images, so that keeps us in suspense. But you can see, I love this one, Old Hallows Eve. I've got to get that. I'm going to have to order that, Rhonda. I need that immediately. I've seen that done on a few pages, and I love it. Look at this. Look at this autumn floral square. I mean, that is just amazing. And then the runner. Imagine having the autumn floral square on your landing or something, and then using these as stair treads or risers. Would be amazing. Have a look at this website, blacksheepwooldesigns.com. Rhonda Shook Manley. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful rug. Thanks, Sue. This next one comes also from, sorry about the pop-ups, Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. You know, I love this page, as you know. And for some reason, the people who post on this page tend to do the work I love the most. It's just one of those things, right? Faye Schilling. This pattern is called Love, but I changed the word to Wyoming, still using the O and part of the L. From Katie Hartner, that's Woolly Fox. That's the company. I intentionally tried to make the lettering sort of blend in. 1890 is the year that Wyoming became a state. I really enjoyed hooking this one. So we've had a Wisconsin and a Wyoming rug on this episode, 2 W's. I love Wyoming too because I used to take my tour groups out there at least one, if not 2 seasons of the year, every year for like Yellowstone and Jackson. And we'd watching cowboy bands at night play and eating steaks off the grill. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. So what I love about this is that she had the word love in it. And she transformed, love, you can see with the Y for Wyoming, looks like it might have originally been the L, um, but she's moved it to the YOM and carried on, and it came out great. When people adapt a pattern like this, that's my favorite. I see your initials on the left, FS. I see that there might be a middle initial in there, and I see on the top 1890 for the year that it became a state. That was right around the time too, I think. Oh no, 1872. I think Yellowstone became protected by President Teddy Roosevelt. Um, there's been some busyness out there for a long time. It's a beautiful state. You've really captured the colors of the state, the browns, the dark browns. I love the pattern. I love the adaptation, but just looking at the original pattern too, it's very, very balanced. It's very primitive, and it gives you a lot of room to play. The block border that's interrupted by the corner horseshoes, very clever. The 4 stars, very primitive in like a Magdalena Briner Ebby way, very primitive. But the colors that have been chosen here are what make this sing. It makes this amazing. The amount of horizontals and then a little bit of bend in some of the horizontals give it interest. It's bringing your eye from that top left-hand horseshoe on that little bit of a bend that looks like it could be a suggestion of a tree with a trunk under it, brings you right down to the word Wyoming. And from there, then you're looking between the 2 horses at that dip to the 2 stars, and then your eye looks almost at the same time out at the 2 horseshoes. So this is super successful as a composition. It's super successful in terms of color blending. It is a masterpiece of primitive hooking. I absolutely love this. And she says she really enjoyed hooking this one, as you should have. You can tell that there's a lot of happiness and joy in this. And the fact that you have altered the pattern to be more personal for you is what makes me the happiest about this. I absolutely love this composition. It's a great, great job. Lady of the Club, this is another one of my favorites. So this was posted by Joan Ballert. I hope I'm saying that sort of okay. I'm going to show you another example because this was the earlier post. This is a pattern by Visions of You. So this pattern is by Anne Bond, Anne with an E, Bond. I'm going to bring you there in a minute. But I first saw this 20 by 46. So this is substantial. You know how I feel about Halloween. I just love Halloween everything. The amount of detail in this face, all these swirly swirls, the broken teeth, the expression on him, the tipsy hat, very jaunty, and then the totally whimsical sci-fi type idea of having a hot air balloon that is like a sleeping moon, like the moon is almost like passive, like he's been tethered over this landscape, that the trees look a little bit like gravestones. It has a very pulled together, tied up look. It's so different than anything I've ever seen. Love the checkering on the hat too. That always brings me back to the 80s, my generation. I love to see the checkers. My eye always goes there. But it's so different the way that this has been handled, rather than with striation and stripes, with curls. So different. And the shading done in browns, really pronounced nose. There's nothing about this that goes amiss. It's all gorgeous. This is the finished piece here. You can see the shape of it. There's a character underneath that looks like a mole or a shrew or a rat or something. And the branch of the tree almost looks like a nest. There's so many things about this that are different. There's also a spider in the sky with the bats, or maybe that's a tassel on the hat, pom-pom sleeping hat, like the moon is asleep, right? He's awake, but he's in a sleeping position. It brings up lots of thoughts. It brings up a story. If I showed this rug to my kids, they would come up with a 2-hour-long story, so I probably should. But even the sort of bubbles or circles in the moon and on the hat, good repeat pull in to the curves of the pumpkin, the curliness of the pumpkin. And then down below, you've got so many horizontals up on top, which are working beautifully as layers of sky going up into the mysterious night, right? The mysterious moonlight, as David Bowie would say, coming down and giving a nice light open space behind the pumpkin, which is the central motif, on this really wispy sort of witch's broomstick kind of branch, very messy branch. And then underneath, very neat, orderly, vertical, very cartoon style, simple landscape. I think the bottom is my favorite part. if it was just the bottom even with the mouse or a shrew character and those trees shaped the way they are, I would still want to hook it because it looks like a children's book illustration. It's so different. This is definitely the most different thing that I've seen to do with Halloween. And this is the page, Visions of You. They have a Facebook page that you should definitely join if you don't already. But then this is their regular page on the internet, visionsofuewe.com. And here's the pattern right here. So you can shop for that. You can shop for the wool. And of course, there's going to be a lot more patterns. Look at this beautiful wool. Colorado, Georgia clay, musket mustard, Geneva dark. Everybody's so creative and cool these days, huh? Everything is just so neat. But it's great to shop online, and there's so many stores you can do it at. This pattern is amazing. Let me just click it because I really want to get this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to be referencing this one in a minute too, so that's just a coincidence. Carter Tavern. I'm going to be referencing that in about 2 minutes. So let's just look at these real quick. Wow. Oh my gosh, look at this haunted house here. Uh-oh. Okay, so I made a little money this week selling my patterns. It looks like I'm going to be getting some more patterns. Look at this here. This is a real similar, I love them all. This is a real similar type thing, isn't it? I want to see this one closer up. Is it going to show me? It looks like there's another dirigible. Yeah, look at there's another wacky dirigible like over a city line. That is so cool. I love that. This is Visions of You. This is your thing. These cool flying machines. They are so cool. I mean, it's so different. I love them all. I'm going to be back to shop later today as soon as I finish all my work. Maybe offset. Sell some stuff and offset the expense of everything I buy. So thank you so much. That was absolutely gorgeous, and I'll be back on that site later. Now, here is the next one I've got for you, Sharing the Love of Rug Hooking. I think this was probably posted in a few places. Wendy Justin Cockrell, by the way, I just sent you some stuff too. And I was worried that what you ordered, Wendy, was super complicated, but I forgot that you hooked this, so you are fine. You've got this. You are not a beginner by any means. This is crazy times. So this is one of the David Galchets, Galchu. Everybody said Galchet for so long that it's hard for me to change it to the French pronunciation, even though I spoke French for 12 years. Still hard. So 30 by 30, these are enormous compositions. This whole, just forgive me, I'm just going to say Galchet because it's impossible for me after years of saying that to break the habit. These Galchets are available on Etsy, and I'm going to show you where, but these are really large. This is a licensing thing that's happening. It's a real gift to be able to get an artist like Galchet, to have images like this up. These are so complicated. These are certainly not beginner issue patterns. I mean, why not give it a try? But these are extremely detailed and busy. So large also. So the color planning with many of these was done by Michelle Miccarelli, who's a good friend of mine. She lives locally. She's off teaching out west right now, and I miss her. But she did a lot of the color planning, and as you can imagine, this is insanely labor intensive to get the colors right. Sometimes I see these posted, the Galchets, and they're just not as poppy. And I realize that it's because Michelle didn't color plan them, because she is known for her color, and she is so good at choosing the right colors. Wendy, this is gorgeous. Wendy said, this is my first time using velvet. I really liked the added interest. I would say 80% I use a number 3 cut, and the rest I use a number 6 cut. So Wendy, you got the wool not cut, and you cut your own strips. So that is good to know, because as you know, as you progress with your hooking and you get better and better, and you attack more fiddly things like this, it's good to know in the back of your mind that you can get the wool and get it not cut, and decide to cut some of it like fairly wide, like a 6, but then cut the rest of it where you've got real fiddly business going on with a much thinner, more narrow cut. This is just gorgeous. It is so pretty, Wendy. I love it. I love the figurehead. I have one design with the figurehead. I didn't realize there was even another one out there. The Mystic Seaport Museum here in Mystic, Connecticut. That's also the place of Mystic Pizza. The Julia Roberts movie. I love that too. Terrible pizza, but still. I eat there just because you've got to, right? But Mystic Seaport has an ongoing permanent exhibit of figureheads, and it is just glorious to see. It brings you right back to that golden age of whaling and pirating. Maybe this guy thinks he's more of a sort of privateer than a pirate or whatever, but he looks like a pirate. I absolutely love the way this came out. Hooking with velvet is a real big thing right now. Question comes up a lot, stretch versus not. That's a different conversation, but it's good to see velvet being used here, because it really, I'm wondering if his headband right under his hat is where some of the velvet is, but I love the parrots popping up from under his arms and behind his arms. This is just such a busy composition. It's such a masterpiece. I mean, what can you say about this? I've never done anything like this, and I probably will never be able to do anything like this. It's so good. I absolutely love it, Wendy. You did a great job. And here's where you can find the galchets if you want them. LC's Wool and Silk. So Pennsylvania, Leanne Sittler is the contact over on the right-hand side, the shop owner. You can let her know what you need, but these are the galchets. These are just patterns. They're really big, so that's where the prices are coming from. They're really big patterns. So there's a lot, right? I've seen most of these on Michelle's dining room table, kitting them up for people. I've seen the angel, and she did the owls not that long ago. The elephant she's got out right now, I think. I recognize a lot of these. This would just be a real, and here's some velvet and stuff for sale too. So you could do one-stop shopping if you're here and you're picking out a galchet, but this is where to go to get them. You have got to come to Leanne's page here, LC's Wool and Silk, like wool and silk. You've got to come here if you want them because she's got them, and they are gorgeous. So if you are up for an insane challenge and you have it in you to push through that, check out this page and grab one. Look at Wendy's thing first and get inspired. Get the nerve up and then go grab one off the Etsy shop. These are actually a great price for something this detailed, because getting a pattern out that is this detailed is so much work that it's absolutely crazy. These are gorgeous. I love all of them. So this is going to be our last one for today. It's 11/11. Make a wish. Even if it's not for you, still make a wish by default. Done. Okay. Now you're going to get your wish as long as you made one. This is the last one for today. Students of Visions of You. So I'm using this page again. I love this. I love this pattern. Linda K. Foster posted this, and she said this is a pattern that she bought from Visions of You. We just saw it a few minutes ago on the Visions of You page, hung on a tobacco stick. Let me just come back if I can find it. Can I find it? Right here. Let me come back and show you the pattern one more time right here. Carter Tavern. So it's 20 by 36. It's a special order from Cushing. So Cushing has this pattern. Or I'm sure you can contact them directly. Oops, spoiler alert. So this pattern is from Visions of You, hung on a tobacco stick. Now that is an inspiration. I absolutely hate all references to tobacco because my father died of lung cancer from smoking for so long, although he considered it one of the great civilized pleasures of the world. However, I am in Connecticut, and I do love to see the old tobacco barns, and I've gone to some tobacco museums. I have mixed feelings, of course, but the history of it is so interesting. It reminds me of that movie. What was that movie in the 60s? Parrish, right? Wasn't that it? Parrish or something? Guy's first name. They worked on a tobacco farm. Anyway, Linda, I love the cleverness of using that tobacco stick as a hanger. That is so appropriate for an old tavern sign rug. I love old tavern signs too, and that's what really spoke to me in this piece. I love you did the lettering so well on this, but I just love the design. It has that, it speaks to the Anglophile in me. It has that real, obviously British look of the Coach and Horses, could equally be American, but it has that old-time British pub feeling, and I lived in England for so long that I still have that so strong inside me when I see an old pub sign. It really resonates. It's a great composition, and the reason I love it, I love the colors. I love the pinks and the reds in this. I love the way that you've handled the wheels. I love the ground under them. It could be solid black, right? It could have been done in solid black or a solid gray, but you've done it like going over the actual ground, unpaved, probably toward an old pub, with this mottled sort of camouflage green palette. It looks amazing. Even your choice of color for the whip really works. White horse, black horse, gray whip. Perfect. Sometimes people, hook a rug and you don't think, you just look at it and go, that's pretty. When you take a minute to look at the choices that they made, look at the way that the wheels are highlighted with white against black, not gray against black, but white against black. It almost gives them movement or motion. It's so interesting. it was the right thing to do the sort of camo palette on the bottom and then the cream palette on the top. And I love that it's not white because I love seeing the white arms of the driver and the white horse. And I love seeing the white buggy sort of circle thing behind the woman pop and the man's vest front pop. The colors are working great. I also love not seeing white for the lettering. It brings your eye right to the central motif of the two horses, and then you look immediately behind them at what they're carrying, the cargo of people. It's such a cool composition. And now you know it's available at Cushing, and it's a Visions of You pattern too, so you can go to either of those places to find them. Linda, I love this. Thank you so much for letting me use it. I think it's a gorgeous thing. If I saw this, I would buy it no matter how much, anywhere. I would love to have a tavern sign hooked like this. I think it's a great idea. And it reminded me of this rug that I have yet to review on any of my shows, this book. I love this book. I've read it cover to cover. Carl Gimber and Mary Jo Gimber, so they're a couple that work together. And every other page sort of alternates between who hooked it. And I think it's Mary Jo hooks things with like a little smiley face motif in them every time. I'm going to show you the inside in a second, but this book is phenomenal. If you liked Linda's rug and you are interested in hooking a tavern sign, make sure that you buy this book. It's $20. It's Prime on Amazon. It's such a good read. It's divided by category. Let's look inside. It's such a good read, and I can't tell you, I enjoyed it immensely. I can't tell you how many times I looked at it and looked at it again. So this is the table of contents, like taverns in early America, origins of signboards, advertising, and then she gets into the genre of signs that exist, and they hooked a couple or a few from each genre. So domestic and exotic animals, amphibians, birds, Masonic, humor, celestial, religious. It goes category by category. There's a history of early taverns in America. That's a history that I love. I've got a lot of books on that subject. And she talks a lot about the background of each tavern sign. Some are based on real signs. Look right here. I'm taking a chance because it's the end of the video. You see this little face peeking up? That is Mary Jo's sort of symbol. When she does a rug, she always hooks the face. Carl doesn't, but she does. So it's neat. You can tell immediately who hooked each one. But it's got see, here's another little face right here. It's got so much information in it. And if you love Linda's tavern sign, you love the idea of tavern signs, you are going to go crazy for this book. Anyway, those are the ones I've got for you. I'm going to try to get back on soon. I'm going to do my outro right now.
Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That got me going on the tavern signs again. I'm going to have to get that book out. It's still on my bedside table because I refer to it that often, thinking of designs or subjects, and it's full of inspiration. But the rugs that we looked at just now were all absolute gems. They were all special. They all had special, unique things about them. I hope that you feel inspired. Looking at other people's work is such a good thing. It is so good in this craft to support each other, to look at each other's work, to encourage one another, to recognize a masterpiece when you see it. And that's almost everybody's stuff comes out like a masterpiece. We're so lucky to love a craft where the finished project 99.99.99% of the time comes out so beautifully. Thank you so much to everybody who let me use your rugs in this episode, and I will try to record another one of these to catch up a little bit in the next few days. See you soon from Ribbon Candy Hooking.